Let's hop into another Piers Morgan debate, this time with lefty Nina Turner and MAGA commentator Tomi Lahren, touching on everything from trans athletes to Democrats, so be sure to smash that like button. Again, helps us out a lot, and let's jump right into the chaos.
As a humanitarian, we should just let people live. Now, when it comes to sports, and what I mean by that, the more we paint other people as the other and as the enemy, it's a slippery slope. Now, when it comes to sports, let's let the NCAA or local sports agencies make the decision. What I can't understand, with so much at stake here in the United States of America, why we would focus on something like this on the federal government level. Let the local people decide. Now, if I want to use boxing as by way of example to lean into something that you were bringing up, we have weight classes in boxing. There's a reason why heavyweights don't fight lightweights or featherweights.
And what do you think would happen? So okay, but Nina, I'm glad you raised that.
Because a heavyweight,
I'm glad you raised that. I'm glad you raised that. So would you be happy if, say, Floyd Mayweather decided to fight a female boxer who weighed exactly the same?
No, not at all.
Let's quickly touch on a few things here before we move on. This is literally like all of 12 people we're talking about, like trans athletes. Demonizing them and using the federal government to do so is obviously the wrong answer. Me personally, the humanist in me, I think that equality should be the baseline, inclusion should be the baseline. I don't think it should be up to your zip code, whatever. If you want to leave it up to localities, I think that's better than tyranny of the federal government against a minority. But I personally just think that these sport organizations should be allowed to make their own rules, like the Olympics has with trans athletes, and the people can decide whether or not to support. I mean, it's funny to me how conservatives are the ultimate no government overreach in business, or let the market decide. Let people decide without regulation until it comes to things they don't like. And then they're like, yeah, ban that. Also, Floyd Mayweather fighting a female, which he already has with plenty of his wives and girlfriends, but that's not comparable to a trans boxer. He would have to transition for 2 years, have his testosterone levels under comparable levels for 2 years, and other steps that minimize advantages. The idea that he just decides to be a girl one day and then the next day he's fighting a woman is propaganda.
All of a sudden, now egg prices are more important. I mean, please, let's just be consistent with our messaging.
Nina, generally,
well, thank God I'm not on the left. I am a progressive. So the bottom line is this: people's feelings do matter. My point is I don't want to dehumanize anybody, because there are real criminal threats where people physically attack people in the transgender community, especially Black women.
But that's all wrong.
Transgender
that's
women.
all wrong.
So that's wrong, Piers.
Listen,
so
Nina, I've always supported trans. I've always supported trans people's
Piers,
rights to fairness and equality. I abhor any violence against trans people. I respect their right to the same rights as the rest of us.
That's the part I'm talking about. But what Tomi is talking about is totally to the extreme.
Piers literally wouldn't let her make her weight class argument, but the argument is clearly just because someone has an advantage doesn't mean they need banned. It means that rules need to be created to ensure fairness. We don't ban Michael Phelps from swimming or 7'5" players from the NBA, heavyweights from the UFC. We create rules that minimize the advantages these people may see. And with trans women, the same can be said, where it seems already a fairly good job of that is done. Trans athletes typically lose far more than they win. They perform worse after their transitions. And again, we're talking of all of 12 people here, which it's just being used to ignore from the tremendous issues that Trump doesn't have any solutions for, like housing or healthcare.
Piers, the Democrat Party does not have a leader right now. I don't think you could identify one. Yes, it's Hakeem Jeffries. He could even get his own party in line to prevent them from acting like complete petulant children last week at the joint address, not standing for a kid with cancer or Laken Riley's family or a returned prisoner of war. They couldn't stand for that. Hakeem couldn't get them to not act ridiculous. So he's not the leader of the party. Kamala Harris, she's not the leader of the party. Gavin Newsom desperately wants to be the leader of something, but even he is not. Pete Buttigieg, no one really takes him seriously. The Democrats do not have a leader. They do not have structure. And then because they lack anybody who's entertaining, they decide to put people like Jasmine Crockett on every cable news show because at least she's entertaining, but she's not going to win anybody over.
I love how each time Republicans win an election, they try to force this doomerism onto the left, like the right creating the perspective or the response for the left, as if like, oh, your party lost. Like, this is America showing you that we're rejecting you. When Democrats literally won everything from 2018 to 2023, and we barely lost an unprecedented election with a candidate running on 100 days to Trump's 3 years. I think we'll be fine. After 2020, Republicans were at a crossroads. This happens to any losing party after an election. You come and you decide, okay, we lost. Do we reassemble and go back the same way, run it back? Or do we change a little bit? And after 2020, half of Republicans were disavowing Trump, only to then turn around and cozy back up to him when they realized, like, oh, we are running Trump again. Democrats are in this period where they're deciding which road to take next. Are we going to go with another Kamala-esque moderate candidate? Or are we going to lean more left? Pretending like this is the end of Democrats is just odd fan fiction that to me shows the fear you have for the Democratic Party, especially given the fact that our bench of 2028 candidates, despite which way we go, is far deeper than Republicans, where Republicans are pigeonholed to almost have to run J.D. Vance or like maybe like a Vivek Ramaswamy, like a Trump guy, or like, I don't know, RFK Jr. could fit in there. Outside of that, they don't have much options, but for us, we could do Tim Walz, Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, Chris Murphy, AOC. We could do outside of the box picks like Jon Stewart, like Stephen A. Smith. I mean, the list goes on. All the while, the 2026 midterm maps also favor Democrats taking back the House. So the future looks more bleak for Republicans than Democrats in terms of getting any of their legislation passed. Also, in terms of just the next two election cycles, this is exactly how they acted after 2016, where they're like, oh, Democrats are done. They'll never win another election. And then look what happened in 2018 and 2020 so hard that in 2020 they had to cry like there was fraud because they got destroyed.